top of the hour, and you're just right on time for the State of the Nation. Tonight on the State of the Nation, we focus on what is turning out to be an ugly trend in the country. The ugly history of police brutality that is hitting a record high. The men in uniform who sworn the oath of office, first, to protect lives, second, properties, are unleashing terror to the same citizens they ought to protect. When he ordered for the disbandment of Special Service Unit dubbed the Killer Corps in 2022, then, in the eyes of many, it was the beginning of a new dawn, a country governed by the rule of law. Cases of forced disappearance and extrajudicial killings and total disregard for human life will be a thing of the past. They were wrong. Instead, the country continued to record an influx of extrajudicial killings, violation of human rights with no signs of slowing down anytime soon. In Kenya, police have consistently mirrored the character of the ruling regime. Before the dust could settle on Albert Ojwang's death, another Kenyan is shot with police yet again on the spot. How many lines should the police cross before they can put an end to this madness? And that is the discussion that we'll be having later on the State of the Nation. We dare to ask the big question, given the recent unfolding, what we witness happening in the streets of the Nairobi Central Business District in regard to a hawker who was shot and is now fighting for his life in the hospital. Such incidents and occurrences should not happen and should not have a space in our country. And of course, we have much and more lined up for you. But first thing first, our top stories tonight. Tonight, day of rage, death, injuries, and destruction of properties as protests erupt over Albert Ojwang death. One death too many. Karua and Kalonzo blast police for yet another extrajudicial killings. Also tonight, no retreat, no surrender. Isiolo residents tells MCAs to defy intimidations and push for Governor Abdi Guyo's impeachment. Plus, storm over medical cover. Teachers' medical cover causes uproar in the National Assembly.
This is Kutv Primetime News. Auma Evans.
Alright, tonight I'm in full backup of the ever-competent Naomi Omboi as our sign language interpreter tonight. Remember, you can talk to us on all of our social media platform. We are coming to you live on YouTube at KUTV News Live. You can tweet us on X at KUTV_Kenya at Auma Evans. The hashtag to use, State of the Nation. Tonight we begin the State of the Nation with rather some unfortunate developing. Now, police officer from anti-riot unit shot a mask vendor at close range in Nairobi's Central Business District during the bloody demonstrations against the brutal killing of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang that was marred with chaos, looting, and tear gas for the better part of the day. Meanwhile, a police officer who shot an armed mask vendor in Nairobi Moi Avenues on Tuesday has been arrested. This is according to a statement issued by the National Police Service. Stephen Marsha is on that beat tonight.
A protest against the murder of a teacher and a digital influencer Albert Ojwang turned chaotic in Nairobi Central Business District today. In an unfortunate turn of events, a masked vendor who was seen standing along Moi Avenue was attacked by two police officers and shot at a close range. In response, the Inspector General of Police has issued a directive for the police officer to be arrested with immediate effect.
How is it that we're still only in an inquest to decide whether or not there's enough evidence for trial?
At the Nairobi protest, which was infiltrated by goons armed with rungos, saw innocent members of the public being beaten up and robbed with having little action against them. As protesters tried proceeding to Central Police Station, the goons pushed them back to Nairobi CBD. Later on, after the running battles, the goons made their way across City Hallway, chanting how they have managed to keep the city safe. All this directed towards Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja. Nevertheless, they believed goons carrying rungos said they were legitimate business persons in the area, whose main aim was to prevent individuals taking advantage of the protest to loot. A similar protest also took place in other parts of the country, including the coastal city of Mombasa, where 4 activists were reportedly arrested by police. In Kilifi, youths where Ojwang lived also held demonstration calling for Eliud Laga's resignation and demanding justice for blogger Albert Ojwang. Meanwhile, residents in Kipkaren, Uasin Gishu County, where Deputy Inspector General Lagas come from, came out in his defense, with some describing him as a respectable man and urging investigative institutions to be given time to do their work. Stephen Masha, KUTV, Nairobi.
Isiolo County, members of parliament and the opposition leaders have, or rather story, I beg your pardon for that. Let me retake that story. Now, in line with the ongoing protest that we witnessed today, members of parliament and the opposition leaders have condemned the event witnessed today during the protest organized to demand justice for Albert Ojwang's. KUTV's Bulusmail Hassan reports on a day that members of parliament have condemned the shooting of a masked hawker as Rigathi Gachagua, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, together with his counterpart from PLP Martha Karua, blamed the government for allegedly trying to sabotage the process, or rather the protest, by using rowdy youths to cause chaos.
The shooting of a masked hawker and the violence witnessed during today's protest meant to demand justice for social media influencer and teacher Albert Ojwang, who was reportedly killed. A central police station has escalated tension in the country, with opposition leaders pointing fingers at the government for the violence. Members of parliament condemned the shooting of the masked hawker, who was shot dead by a police officer during the protests.
What has happened, for instance, today? A young man selling some items in town has been shot down by a police officer, selling face masks. Madam Speaker, the young man did not run, he was unarmed. It's just worrying. And one of the roles that the National Police Service has to do is to bring our country together. And the greatest threat now we have is when an institution or leadership loses touch with the people they lead. Where I come from, Madam Speaker, we rear cattle. The worst shepherd is the shepherd who cannot look back and see where his cattle is.
Yes, we need to respect our police, but our police need to restrain themselves as well. Just now, a young man has been shot dead. It is very unfortunate because the police have a higher duty of care. Just the way we as members of parliament, we are abused daily, we are even attacked physically, but we restrain ourselves. When you are given to him who much is given, much is expected.
Ladies and gentlemen
Rigathi Gachagua has condemned the murder, saying, and I quote, "Young people and patriotic Kenyans expressing themselves on the death of an innocent Albert Ojwang have been beaten up and their property destroyed and their life lost in the peaceful protest." Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka posted on social media condemning today's event, saying, "In broad daylight, your killer squad extrajudicially shot an innocent, unarmed and non-violent hawker who was selling face masks to peaceful demonstrators." PLP leader Martha Karua was also angered by today's event, saying, "How can officials of the National Police Service allow attacks on peaceful protesters? William Ruto, one day you'll be held accountable for this." Ismail Hassan, KUTV.
Right, now let's switch gears now to Isiolo County. Isiolo residents have urged the members of County Assembly to defy intimidation and push for the impeachment of the embattled Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo. The move comes at a time when the High Court in Isiolo temporarily halted the impeachment proceedings against Governor Abdi Guyo, stopping all proceedings by the County Assembly of Isiolo. All right, now let's talk about matters related to health and education. Now, the health and welfare of teachers across the country are once again under sharp focus following growing concerns over delays in the disbursement of their medical insurance cover. Even as the education sector secured the lion's share of the 2025-2026 national budget, questions linger over the teachers remain exposed and without access to critical healthcare services. Lawmakers are demanding urgent answers from the Teachers Service Commission and the National Treasurer, as Emmanuel Kutosi now reports.
The education sector is set to receive a staggering 702.7 billion shillings in the upcoming financial year, the largest allocation in the 2025-2026 budget. Cabinet Secretary for Education Julius Ogamba says the funds will bolster oversight and accountability in public schools.
Ile requirement ya UNESCO ni kwamba katika education 20% iwe ndiye inatumika katika education. Kenya hii leo hiyo 701 billion is almost 28%. So
a stronger audit unit is also in the works, aiming to crack down on mismanagement of funds by school heads.
We give free education and we do capitation to all those institutions. So whichever head teacher or principal that is found to be levying any other cost that is not permitted by government will face the full force of the law.
But amid the applause for increased education funding, storms are gathering over the health of teachers.
The hospital stopped giving the services to the teachers. And above all, Honorable Speaker, the teachers lost their medical cover. So it is not something that is free.
At the heart of the concern is the delayed disbursement of funds meant to support the comprehensive medical cover for teachers, a benefit enshrined in the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement.
The implementation of the teachers' medical scheme is successful, though on a few occasions it has experienced challenges mainly associated with the disbursement of funds due to budgetary delay.
Back in April this year, Parliament called on the Teachers Service Commission to terminate its contract with Minet Insurance Brokers and consortium of underwriters, citing a lack of transparency and describing the arrangement as an amorphous structure. But according to the TSC, switching providers at short notice is not feasible. The proposed transition to the State-Held Insurance Fund, SHA, was deemed impractical due to the short timeline and prohibitive projected cost of 10.3 billion shillings, a figure far beyond SHA's current capacity.
Speaker, it is evident that teachers' medical scheme is recovered from their salaries every month. Honorable Speaker, diseases cannot wait for release of exchequer. And Honorable Speaker, because teachers pay their money every month, what measures is Teacher Service Commission doing so that they ensure that the service providers are paid on time, so that our teachers and their dependents access medical cover seamlessly?
Members of Parliament are now demanding a speedy resolution, insisting that the delay places thousands of teachers and their dependents at risk without access to basic or emergency medical services.
But I will also, with the committee, seek for more clarification from the Commission whether they are the ones who are supposed to disperse the money from the Commission to the service providers. They will have to give us that clarification.
As the budget debate heats up, the future of teachers' healthcare hangs in the balance, one that not only affects livelihoods, but could also have ripple effects on learning in classrooms across the country. Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has emphasized that Kenya's transformation will not happen like instant coffee or through miracles, but through deliberate efforts. This was during the second Kenya Urban Forum that was held in Naivasha. He reaffirmed his support for government-led projects such as affordable housing, slum upgrading, and infrastructure development, as Patricia Mutanu now reports.
I will not.
President Ruto has defended the use of affordable housing fund, emphasizing that the inclusion of social amenities like markets and residential blocks is part of building urban sustainable communities. This comes after made criticism from the Central Organization of Trade Unions, which has raised over safety and hygiene in such arrangements.
You have citizens that are living in subhuman conditions today. Go to any informal settlement. Mukuru, Soweto, the famous Kibra, just outside this hotel here, Karagita, just here, you have 10,000 people living in a small place.
The Cabinet Secretary for Land and Housing, Alice Wahome, said that the housing units being constructed along the country come equipped with complete infrastructure, including water, security, schools, and lighting to support neighborhood communities.
I just want to commit to the people of Kenya that we will make this program transparent.
Today's forum has complemented last year's first Kenyan Urban Forum by continuing the call for better planning, affordable housing, climate change, and stronger support for urban development. Patricia Alex, KUTV, Naivasha.
All right, that story by Patricia Alex takes us to a first break here on the State of the Nation. Remember, plenty more to follow after the break.
This is Earth Check. The program where we keep you up to date on matters concerning the environment, various stories on matters happening concerning conservation of our dear planet, the one and only that we have. Right here on Earth Check, we are on a series concerning genetic modified organisms.
Modified crops are as safe or even safer than traditionally bred crops.
And their impact on the environment and also their role within it. My name is Mal Kutosi, and this is Earth Check.
Na uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka, akawa tuzo. Ukakamavu wake, ukatii, na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke, akabaini jinsi ya kuweni. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari, kwa jinsi alivyo ngari-ngari. Mimi ni mwanamke mwake. Usikose kutazama kipindi cha mwanamke mwake, nami Caroline Kimwele.
KUTV Primetime News with Auma Evans.
Right, welcome back and thank you for keeping it State of the Nation. Remember, you can still talk to us on all of our social media platforms. We are coming to you live on YouTube at KUTV News Live. You can tweet us on X at KUTV_Kenya, at Auma Events, the hashtag to use State of the Nation, and we'll be sure to sample all of your feedback at the tail end of our bulletin tonight. So let's continue. Now, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has stressed the need for an international system that respects law, equality, peace and inclusivity, especially for the developing countries. He warned that Africa should not remain a bystander in global decision-making, singling out Kenya's contribution in restoring peace in the region. According to Mudavadi, Africa's principle of African solution to African problems is not a mere slogan but a call to action. This story was produced by our very own Yamat Johanna.
As the first Kenyan leader to attend the historic Kultaranta dialogue in Finland, Prime Cabinet Secretary, who also doubles the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, used the opportunity to showcase Kenya and Finland's growing diplomatic influence, which was boosted in May when Finland's President Alexander Stubb and his wife Susanne Ines Stubb visited Kenya. In his speech, Mudavadi stressed the need for an international system that respects law, equality, peace and inclusivity, especially for developing countries. He warned that Africa should not remain a bystander in global decision-making and highlighted that Kenya continues to fully participate in peacekeeping efforts in the Horn of Africa.
Any process that encourages a nation to destabilize other nations is not acceptable. We should not entertain and encourage that kind of attitude. And
he emphasized strong cooperation between nations to address climate change, economic inequality and security. Mudavadi also held bilateral talks with President Stubb and Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen on trade partnership, climate issues and peace building.
Whether you're looking at Sudan, Somalia, South Sudan, the Sahel region, all these areas, the Central Africa, we are having a real crisis.
Kenya reaffirms its position in the global diplomatic arena, not only on its own behalf, but also representing the global south. Mudavadi's presence in Finland is a strong message that Kenya is ready to lead, participate, and shape the future of the world. Blue Ismail Hassan, KUTV.
Right now, let's take a look at some matters diplomacy. Now, President William Ruto has today officially signed the Anti-Money Laundering and Financing Laws Amendment Bill of 2025 into law. Sponsored by the National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, the legislation boosts Kenya's capacity to combat money laundering and the terrorism financing. The bill was initially passed by the Parliament on April 16, 2025. However, President Ruto returned it with reservations for further refinement. Following provincial Parliament passed the bill again on June 3, 2025, the anti-money laundering bill has garnered attention from key regional and international organizations, including the Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group and the Financial Action Task Force, which flagged the legislation as a critical step toward aligning Kenya with global anti-financial crime standards. All right, now, spiritual leaders in Narok County have expressed deep concerns over moral decline in the country, citing increased incidents of murder, corruption, and tribalism. Bishop Augustine Rugut of Gospel Outreach and Bishop Paul Njenga of Kenya Githima Church have called for renewed focus on peace, justice, and national unity through prayer and responsible leadership. Speaking during separate church events, Bishop Rugut condemned the prevalence of vulgarity on social medias and called on the government to address corruption decisively. He warned against the idealization of money and urged the public to pray for leaders while demanding justice for Albert Ojwang, who died in police custody. Good also criticized opposition leaders for fostering tribalism and division.
This morning I want to say three things. One, as Kenyans, I think we have lost values. First, we need to learn to honor people. The Bible says to not curse the ruler of your people. Many people nowadays are cursing leaders. We are cursing the president. We are cursing everybody, either verbally or on social media. It's an unfortunate case. Number two, we mourn with the family of Ojwang. It's so painful to lose the only child in the hands of people whom we trust to be disciplined forces. In this country, where are we heading to? We have lost values. The people we trust to guard us are the same people killing us.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Bishop Paul Njengambugwa. Kama vile mambo yanavyoendelea kupitia yale mambo yanaendelea siku baada ya siku, na katika Kenya yetu sisi kile kitu tunaweza omba, mimi nikiwa kuhani wa Mungu, ni amani katika nchi yetu, na tunaombea amani kabisa kwa viongozi, kwa wadogo na hata kwa wakubwa. Tunaomba amani na furaha kwa watu wote. Kitu kingine ambacho ningesema kama vile mkubwa wetu aliweza kujiondoa katika uongozini, tunaomba tu isiwe tu ni kujiondoa ili tufunike wananchi macho, iwe amejiondoa, na kama kuna makosa aliyoyafanya kupitia kifo cha Ojwang.
Right, 27 minutes past 9 o'clock. Let's take our very second break here on the State of the Nation. Remember, when we come back, still plenty more to follow after the break.
From the hospital corridors, we bring you experts to discuss issues affecting your health, from diet to mental health. The familiar and the ignored are both put into perspective. We then dive into the environment and look at the effects of climate change and its solutions. Join me, Mutegi K. Martin, every Friday at 9 p.m. as we learn on how to better our health while taking care of our environment. Only on KUTV.
So my name is Jakub Petri. I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. And I'm the main coordinator of the CAFE project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Auma Evans.
Right, welcome back, and remember this is State of the Nation, and of course just like I had promised you earlier on, we will be talking about the conduct of police in regard to what transpired today, and of course in regard to the respect, the rule of law and freedom of expression. And before that, let me take this story to run you through. Then this story will be forming the basis of our conversation tonight with my guest, Pamphil Omondi, governance and political analyst. First, let's take a look at this story. Now, the National Assembly has approved nominees to the National Police Service Commission, setting the stage for what legislators hope will be a turning point in the country's troubled relationship with its police service. While the majority leader hailed recent improvement in discipline, the session quickly turned into a call for deeper reforms and accountability, especially in light of recent killings, protests, and growing mistrust of law enforcers, with the demonstrations rather looming. Questions remain on how the police will engage the public, whether justice for past wrongs will be delivered.
In what was meant to be a routine parliamentary session to consider and approve nominees to the National Police Service Commission,
Kaluma first.
lawmakers found themselves confronting the elephant in the room, a widening rift between the police and the public.
I saw somebody, Honorable Speaker, the other day in Nakuru, brandishing a machete at an armed police officer, and I must take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to commend that officer in Nakuru.
Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah expressed satisfaction with what he described as improved conduct within the police service. But his remarks only opened the floodgates for fellow MPs who pressed for deeper transformation and accountability in law enforcement.
I must commend the police that they have done their work to ensure that those who are responsible are brought to book, Honorable Speaker, because that is how civilized nations work. That is how.
From a rising number of extrajudicial killings to incidents of excessive force, the police service is facing growing scrutiny. The calls for justice are no longer whispers, their demands echoing from across the country.
National Police Service has to do is to bring our country together. And the greatest threat now we have is when an institution or leadership loses touch with the people they lead. Where I come from, Madam Speaker, we rear cattle. The worst shepherd is the shepherd who cannot look back and see where his cattle is. Let us be careful that we do not lose touch with Kenyans. A good shepherd looks back to see whether he still has his flock. Let us not lose Kenyans in the race of leading Kenya.
Without fear, without fear, favor, affection on every, so help me God.
As fresh protests loom, concerns are mounting over the kind of response the security apparatus will unleash. Trust is fragile, and every action now risks either mending or shattering the already tense relationship between the people and the police.
Yes, the police have a higher duty of care, just the way we as members of parliament. We are abused daily, we are even attacked physically, but we restrain ourselves. When you are given to him who much is given, much is expected. So even if the public goes against you, please restrain yourself. I support.
And every Kenyans expect them to uphold the rule of law, integrity, accountability, and respect to human rights. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here today, truth be told without even bias, the relationship between the Kenyan police service and the general public could be considered to be at the lowest ebb ever.
It's not every day you come across an officer who will be able to restrain themselves. Therefore, conduct ourselves, Honorable Speaker, in a dignified way. When we want to picket, when we want to protest, Honorable Speaker, we do it in a way that we are also not provoking.
I'll just charge that police officer, and when pulling the neck, pulling it, you don't do that. Soon thereafter, you watched the law and order sector in the United States. And I don't know, Honorable Speaker, you watched what that law and order officer was saying. You abuse our police officers, you will go to jail, but you pass through hospital.
Even as new leadership takes shape within the commission, there is one figure notably absent from office, the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat, who is expected to appear before the Independent Policing Oversight Authority.
But we must also speak to our people. We must also speak to the public that let us also treat our policemen and women with respect, with honor, and with the dignity that they deserve. Honorable Speaker.
His summons signaling the seriousness of internal cracks that the new commission must urgently address.
Much as we recommend their appointment, Madam Speaker, there is a problem in the police force that they must address. Police service, yes. I hope it will translate to that and be seen.
Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
Right. And now that story by Emmanuel Kutosi now sets the background and the foundation for our discussion tonight. My guest is Pamphil Omondi, governance and political analyst. Pamphil, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
All right. Let's just jump straight to it, Pamphil. Given the latest unfolding in the Nairobi's central business district, with the shooting of a hawker and of course the counter of protesters by what is believed to be hired goons. What is your assessment of the latest development, given the fact a very packed up activities around the Nairobi CBD that has led to one being shot, others nursing injuries, and of course we have seen some cases of looting. It has been just a chaotic day with tear gas dominating a better part of the day. So what is your assessment of today's unfolding, Pamphil?
All right, thank you so much for having me here this evening. I want to start by sending my condolences to Albert Ojwang, who lost his life. And I also wish Eli, who has been shot today in the CBD, recovery. I know the pain. But what I can say is that the shooting today in CBD, the looting by the hooligans, it is just an intentional move by the government to instill fear so that men and women, the youths of this nation, they should not demand for accountability of their mistakes. Because today, we know that is already, the government today, they know that they are already in the wrong side of the law. So what they are trying to do is just to ensure that they instill fear so that many more people should not come out and demand truth and justice. So that is exactly what they are doing today.
All right.
So that shooting, it is not news to the government. It is a plan. Because if you look at how it was done, the police officer who did it with a lot of confidence, without fear, without even intimidation, because he knows that the government will cover up what he has done.
All right.
That is why I'm saying just intentional.
And Pamphil, we will talk about the motive, and it is imperatively important now to even put into perspective the fact that the officer who shot the hawker was arrested today. This is according to the National Police Service information that was issued later on this evening. However, when you look at the recent unfolding, the dust has not settled after Albert Ojwang was killed in a police custody. Well, this begs the question, don't we learn as a society, as a Kenya, the culture of rogue police officers, of course, taking advantage of innocent Kenyans without, taking into account the very aspect of it, the respect to human life. As a nation, don't we learn?
What I can say, there's nothing that the government doesn't know what is happening. So there's nothing that we are going to say that we can learn. All these police officers, they are just being used by the government to silence the voices of Kenyans, because the fear that we have in the government officials today, they fear losing the grip of power, because they have already lost the touch with the Kenyans. So what they are doing today is just to ensure that they stay in power in whatever means. Because if you heard the president talking today, he said that he doesn't care what people say. He doesn't care what people do. He doesn't care what the cry of Kenyans. But what he cares is what he's going to do. You cannot be a leader who says that doesn't care what the people you are leading are saying. You have to listen. So what I'm saying is that the shooting that is happening, the abductions that we are facing, the intimidation that the government is instilling in people, it is just a well-choreographed thing. There's no incident that the government doesn't know. Even if today the police has issued that they are going to arrest the one who has shot the young man today, those are just rhetoric, those are just stories. We want to see these people being jailed. That is the only way that we can know that what is happening is they mean what they say. But this is just saying, because you find that they are going for smaller people, like the shooting or the killing of Albert Ojwang. We know perpetrators. We know the big fish. They are out there still enjoying their life. And they're just going for small ones. Why? This is just fooling Kenyans. But if they are very intentional in what they are doing, we know people who are supposed to be answering questions while they're behind the bars. So whatever the government is doing, this is just fooling Kenyans.
All right, and we'll talk about the laid down procedure and of course the framework at which justice can be served to the victims. But let's talk about the police conduct for a bit. Well, the police has been labeled as the rogue forces in our country, and it's fair to say we have not a big chunk but fairly some rogue officers within our police forces. Then it is also fair to say we have good police officers in our police forces. For these rogue police officers who have mastered the art of perpetrating this heinous act against innocent Kenyans who are just expressing their rights in terms of probably maybe demonstrating just to want to air their grievances to the government of the day. This culture of insatiable appetite for total disregard for human life, how do we actually tame this very uncouth manner in which the rogue police officers are really perpetrating their agenda, given the fact that we live in a country that is governed by the rule of law? Pamphil.
I will start by saying this. These uncouth police officers that we have amongst the police force, the buck stops with the top leadership of this nation. If we have a president who is very intentional to ensure that we have the rule of law, actually we will not struggle. We shall not be struggling with uncouth police officers. But the moment we have a president who is just pretending to be doing something against it and yet there is nothing doing, we shall continue having these people. If the president stands firm, Honorable William Samoei Ruto, and he means what he said about protecting the lives of Kenyans, I'm telling you, it is just a matter of seconds, and every police will align with the duties that they are supposed to be doing. They will align to the rule of law. They will align to justice of this nation.
Okay.
But the moment we have the president who is talking by both ends of the mouth, then we shall see these rogue police officers. Because this is just a clique of police officers that the government is using to silence the voices of the people who are calling out for justice. This is just a clique of police officers who are well known by these officials. Because this police officer, if today the NPS that are saying they have issued a notice that he should be arrested, I don't think if they really want to arrest this police officer, he should be out by now, because they are the one who assigned him the duty. They know him. They should be talking when he's already behind the bus.
All right.
But if he's not, that is just remain a rhetoric and stories.
And Pamphil, when you talk about the conduct of a police officer, and they lay down a procedure of actually removing a police officer from the service, which is clearly stated in our constitution under the Police Act. Well, there is a laid down procedure of doing that. But the question is it the tidiest nature of our proceedings, or is it about time now we probably take a look or look on our some of the sections in our constitutions that is laid down, that lays down the procedure of actually sending these rogue police officers home? Do you think probably it's about time we relook into some of these laws, maybe we amend or do a total overhaul for freshers, for a start, probably for a better Kenya?
Thank you. Our laws are very clear. Our constitution is very nice, but the implementers, we cannot blame the law and the constitution as at now. We have very clear laws which protects the lives of people, which outlines the duties and the services of the police officers and their conduct. It is well laid down in our constitution. But the implementers, the moment Kenyans we shall have good leadership who are very intentional in implement our constitution, who are ready to lead this nation by the rule of law, will not have such stories, will not have such incidences. We shall not have rogue police officers. It is not about the constitution. It is about those men and women who took oath to implement our constitution. It is not about the problem is not in the constitution. The problem is about the leadership that we have today, because they have already stepped out of the constitution and they don't want to admit they are wrong. So the only problem is that they are using another wrong to cover up a previous wrong. So what we need is just these government officials to calm down and ensure that they implement the constitution. Only that. To lead this nation by the rule of law.
Government come and go. Let me bring you to 2 years down the line, when President William Ruto took the power. He disbanded the Special Service Unit and he promised to actually crack down on the rogue police officers. Under his leadership, never again will the country be plunged again into the cases of forced disappearance, extrajudicial killings, total disregard to human life. Well, it's fair to say 1,000 days down the line, the cases has skyrocketed, and we have witnessed a very rogue police officers, if I may say so. And of course, this has begged the question, what happened to the same promise that President William Ruto gave out at the very beginning of his leadership, a firm commitment to end police brutality in the country? It was seen as a beginning of a new hope, a new dawn for Kenya, where cases of extrajudicial killings will be a thing of the past. What changed?
Personally, I'm struggling to believe what our president says in the public. Anything that the president promises in the public, take it the opposite side. That is the kind of the president we have today in our nation. He has never meant anything good. If he gives a promise, take it the opposite side. You remember when he had some breakfast meeting, prayer meeting the other day, he apologized to Kenyans, to the youth, to Gen Zs. And whatever is happening today is just exact opposite what he delivered that day. So I'm struggling to understand our president. I don't know if he understands what he says in public and what he does in public.
All right.
Because we cannot have the head of state who does exactly opposite what he promises people who elected him in the office. That is the problem that we are having today in our nation. What the president does, if it doesn't benefit him directly, he doesn't care.
Okay, and the drawn-out nature of proceedings, even as we wind up on this discussion, like IPO are mandated to investigate police conduct and give justice to the victims who are believed to have been either killed or even injured by the act of police officers. This, when you look at from the time the IPO was actually established until now, there is little much success that we can speak about IPO. This, the drawn out nature of proceedings, don't you think is the reason why these police officers continue with their rogue act of actually descending and raging terror on Kenyans, and some even walk free without facing the full force of law? Do you think this is another area that probably, even as we talk about now putting an end to police brutality and all these extrajudicial killings, this is an area that we should actually look into going forward?
What I can say today in Kenya, there's no government body that is working. The moment the head is rotten, then the tail of the fish probably will just get rotten. There's no government body that is working. Starting with the EACC, these are just scapegoats. These are just bodies that were created to fool Kenyans. These are just bodies that are created to ensure that they get a leeway to get out of these mistakes in the public. IPOA, if you look, the man who is at the helm of IPOA is one man who has questionable behavior, character, conduct. Because once he was a head of in IBC. Whatever he did in IBC, Kenyans are still suffering the same consequences. We are still having the consequences that he brought in our nation. So this is a man that cannot be trusted again to investigate police officers who are working for the government. Because I am sure these men and women in uniform, they work for the government. Anything they execute, they never take it just like that. Orders are coming from somewhere, from the top rank. So you cannot tell me that IPOA will do anything. IPOA is just a toothless lion. Men and women who are in IPOA, they're just drawing salary, but they're doing nothing in our nation. So that is why you find that today Kenyans are so bitter. If you find that men and women are going to the street, ready to be shot, ready to die, because they know there is nobody in Kenya that will come into our aid. So the only problem that we have today is that these people who are being appointed in these offices that are mandated to ensure they serve justice to the people of Kenya, most of them are just loyalties to the head of state. They are just being rewarded. So they will never work against the president. They'll never work against the executive. They'll never work against the orders that comes from the state house. They will work according in line with the executive orders. So we are not going to get any help from these bodies like IPOA. Even this story of Albert Ojwang, I don't know why they are following Mukhwana, and yet the one who ordered Mukhwana is out there enjoying the wines and the bread. That is just something to fool Kenyans.
All right.
So IPOA is just a toothless lions.
Okay. And talking about the case of Albert Ojwang, well, of course, the Nairobi Central Police OCS is already in police custody. The officer who is believed to be the one who was on duty on that particular day, Mukhwana, arrested, and yesterday he gave a very chilling details of what transpired and who gave the orders. And today, IPOA summoned Deputy Inspector General of Police, that is Eliud Langat, who is a person of interest in this case. So don't you think probably, maybe, just for once, Kenyans can have trust in IPOA that they will actually carry out their investigation and justice will be served, given the magnitude of the case and so far, given the nature of the proceedings where we are, don't you think probably we need to put a little bit of trust in the IPOA to bring this home?
One, they have summoned DIG. Where is DIG coming from while he's going to IPOA? He should be coming behind the bus. That is one thing. So we cannot trust even this IPOA because they know DIG, Eliud Lagat. They have the true story. One, the CCTVs in a central police station, they were not working. And DIG has not given the explanation. So all these people who have been arrested, they were working under the orders of DIG. So this is a man that, as we speak, should be behind the bus. That's the only way we can say now IPOA has done something. But as long as Eliud Lagat is still outside, enjoying his bread in his house, then there's nothing we are going to talk about IPOA. These are just stories because they know that Kenyans are following everything, so they are just a cover-up. If DIG is not arrested, then IPOA has got nothing to do with Kenyans.
All right, Pamphilo Molo there just giving us his insight about the state of the nation, what transpired, and of course, the topic that has been on the lips of many, the mysterious death of Albert Ojwang in the hands of police. He was actually pronounced dead upon arrival at Bagadi Hospital, but it's believed that Ojwang met his death in a police custody, perpetrated by the police officers, given the account that was given by the officer on duty, that is Mohwana, just giving out a chilling details of what transpired. And it's also important to note that this is a process that is under investigation, and of course more details keep on piling up, and we'll be keen to follow and bring you up to speed with the latest. Now from that, now we switch our attention to some other stories. Now, smoking may soon become a luxury that burn your pockets more than your lungs. The Finance Bill 2025 proposes a significant hike in taxations of tobacco products from traditional cigarettes to e-cigarettes and nicotine pouches as life-saving intervention. But will it truly get rid of smoking, or will it just push users to continue smoking? KUTV's Frederick Maina tells us more in the following report. Harder, right in the wallet. The Finance Bill 2025 proposes a sharp increase in excess duty on tobacco products from 4,067 shillings to a whopping 5,700 shillings per mils of cigarette. Furthermore, electronic cigarettes and even nicotine pouches are facing tax hikes of about 43%. The goal of this initiative is to price smokers out of addiction. The Ministry of Health, backed by advocacy groups like SCAD Kenya, Ketka and Nakada, is hopeful. They say that this is a landmark moment for Kenya's fight against non-communicable diseases. According to the WHO, increasing the price of tobacco by 10% can lead to as much as 8% drop in consumption, especially among youths and low-income groups. The fight against drug and substance abuse in the country has been a key agenda, especially by the Interior Ministry, as it is seen as a major catalyst that drives insecurity. The Kenya Revenue Authority now joins the fight by preparing tighter surveillance to curb illicit sales. Nonetheless, Parliament is currently debating the bill with July 1st set as the deadline for the implementation. For now, Kenyans are left wondering whether these new taxations will work, or will tobacco lovers simply light up their hustle to keep lighting up their smokes? And will their struggle to afford tobacco lead to intensified vices? Now let's take a look at motorsports. Former world javelin champion and Olympic silver medalist Julius Yego is upbeat of positive outing ahead of Pavanarim Games set for tonight in Turku, Finland. Yego heads into the meet with renewed confidence after posting a season-best throw of 82.95 meters to win last Monet Grand Prix in Latin. After Turku, assignment next task in line is the Parade Diamond League on June 20th, where Yego is expected to continue sharpening his form before the inaugural Niraj Chopra Classic in Bangalore in India on July 5th, where he is expected to join a high-profile lineup featuring Olympic champion Niraj Chopra, Anderson Peters, Thomas Roller, and Curtis Thompson as he eyes the World Athletics Championship crown in Tokyo later this year. And now to some football action. Chelsea started their Club World Cup campaign with a 2-win victory over MLSA side rather Galaxy in front of thousands of empty seats in Atlanta, Georgia. Pedro Neto and Enzo Fernandez scored either of half for the Blues, with Liam Delap claiming assist on his Chelsea debut. Chelsea will play Flamingo in their next Club World Cup group games before rounding up their Group D campaign on Tuesday next week with a clash against AS Tunis. It's a wrap. Many thanks for the men and the women behind the scene, and for you, our esteemed viewers, for keeping us accompanied in the last 1 hour or so. My good name is Auma Evans. Naomi Ombui has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Until next time, you have a lovely night, and God bless Kenya.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepopa si vuguvugu. Pepopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni dunia ni leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
uso wa jamii. Kupanda shuka akawa tuzo, ukakamavu wake ukatii na kumfanya mwenye bidii. Kwa machozi na makeke akabaini jinsi ya kuwini. Huyu ni mwanamke ngangari